So in this video, we're going to do the operations of polynomial. So operations means we're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide polynomials. So what is polynomial? We have seen this before. Okay? It is an expression of more than two terms, such as this one. Okay, so this one is an expression because you don't see equal sign, so it is not an equation, right? So and it has more than two terms. So this is one term, second term, third term, fourth term. So in this expression, in this polynomial, we have four terms. Okay, so how are you going to decide about terms? They are separated by a subtraction sign or addition sign. Okay. And one more thing is, we usually write the polynomial from the greatest power to the least power. Okay, and for this polynomial, we can decide about the degree of the polynomial. How are you going to decide about it? You just look at the highest power of this polynomial. So in this polynomial, the first power is 3, second power is 2, next power is imaginary 1, last you don't have variable x, so you don't have any power here. Okay? So the highest power for this polynomial is 3. So the degree of this polynomial is 3. Okay, so that is the concept of polynomial. Now let's do the operations between polynomials. So let's look at the first example. Actually, we have seen this, we have done all of the problems before, but this time we have a longer polynomial, okay, and operations between them. Okay. So first problem, we have two polynomials adding each other. The first polynomial has three terms. 1, 2, 3. The next polynomial has 3 terms. Okay, and the highest degree for the first polynomial is square. The highest for the second polynomial is square, is 2, degree of 2. Okay, so how are we going to add them up? First, you're going to set the inside out. You're going to get rid of the parentheses. Okay, so first step is to get rid of the parentheses. How are we going to do it? We just need to distribute. You need to multiply the number in front of the parentheses to everybody in. So for the first parenthesis, the number in front of it is imaginary 1. So we know 1 times everybody is everybody themselves. Nothing's changed, right? So you just need to take the inside out. Let's write it down. So it equals, to get rid of the first parenthesis, we can just take the inside out. Okay. And then we're going to get rid of the second parenthesis by distribute the number in the front. So for the second parenthesis, the number in the front is still imaginary positive 1. And we know positive 1 times whatever is whatever themselves. So you can just take the inside out, which is positive 3x squared. So plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 10. So we are done for the first step. Get rid of the parentheses by distribution. Okay. And finally, look for like terms and combine them. Okay. So next, we're gonna combine like terms. How are you gonna decide about like terms? You're gonna check from the beginning. So for the beginning, you see x squared. So do you see any other x squares on the back? Yes, you do. So add up the two numbers in front of the like terms. So it's 2 plus 3 give you 5x squared. Okay. So 2x squared plus 3x squared is 5x squared. Okay. After combining them, they're gone. And keep looking for the next term. It is x, and we have a single x on the back. So combine them by adding up the number in the front. So it's 3 plus -4. Don't forget the sign. Okay? 3 plus -4 give you -1x. You don't have to write the imaginary one there, right? After combining them, they're gone. And keep looking. Next one is single number. And we have a single number on the back. So you're going to combine them by add up the numbers. So don't forget the sign in front of the number. So it's -7 plus -10 give us -17. Okay? And after combining them, they're gone. Okay? And look at the result for this step. You don't have any like terms to combine. So this is your result. Okay. So first, get rid of the parentheses by distribution. Second, combine like terms. And that's it. Okay. And the next one, let's do a subtraction problem. So first, get rid of the parentheses by multiply the number in the front. So for the first parenthesis, you have +1 in the front. So 1 times whatever never is changed. So just take the inside out for the first parenthesis. And for the second parenthesis, you need to be very careful here. For the second parenthesis, you have an imaginary -1 in front. Don't forget the negative sign. Okay? And we know -1 times something, the something is going to change. So let's do the multiplication here. So first the multiplication, -1 times 2 give you -2x squared. Next, -1 times 3 give you -3. It's no longer +3, right? You changed it because you multiplied -1. It's -3x. Next one is -1 times -7. Don't forget the sign here, which give you +7. Okay? So you get rid of the parentheses by distribution again. Okay? And finally, combine like terms. From the beginning, x squared, another x squared, add up the numbers. 5 plus -2 is +3 x squared. Next is x and x, add up the number in the front. -12, add -3, give you -15x. Finally, single number, add them up, give you +8. And that's it. Okay, so next step is still combine like terms. Next example, let's do a multiplication problem. Yeah. So here, let's do the simple multiplication to review about it. Yeah. So for the first little problem, we have x squared times x to the power of 4. Yeah. So you see they have the same base. So if the two variables have the same base and multiply them, you just need to do what? You need to still have the same base, but for the power, you're not gonna multiply them. You're gonna add up the power. So which give you x to the power of 6. To help you remember this is why we're gonna do addition instead of multiplication on the power part. So for example, everybody know this. X times x equals x squared. How do you get x squared? This is x to the power of imaginary 1, x to the power of imaginary 1, and add up the powers. 1 plus 1 is to the power of 2. If you do multiplication, 1 times 1 is still 1, which is wrong, right? So if you're doing multiplication, you add up the power, add up the heads. Okay? And let's look at the second little problem. So here is more complicated, right? You have two variables, x and y, and you have a single number. So what you're gonna do here? So step by step, number times number, x times x, y times y. So let's start with the number. Okay? So here you see a single number 2, and you don't see any number here. So you cannot multiply the number. So it's just 2. Okay? And then deal with the x. So this is x to the power of imaginary 1. This is x to the power of 3. So x1 times x3. Add up the head. Okay? And then deal with y. This is y3 times y5. Add up the power, or add up the heads. Right? Okay? And finally do the calculation. So it's 2x to the power of 4, y to the power of 8. So just be careful. When you do multiplication, you add up the powers of the same variable. Okay? So let's write the rule down, which is when multiply variables with the same base, you're going to add up the powers. Okay, so let's look at one more complicated example. Okay, so here you still have two big polynomials, okay? And the relationship this time is multiplication, because you don't see anything between the two parentheses, so it is multiplication. So how are you gonna do the multiplication? First, still get rid of the parentheses, but how are you gonna do that? Okay. If you have two parentheses times each other, we're going to multiply between the two parentheses. It means we're gonna do distribution, but between the two parentheses. Okay. So you're gonna use everybody in the first parenthesis times everybody in the second parenthesis. We have done this before with two terms in each of the parentheses, so this is very similar to that. So let's do it. Okay? So first, you are going to use the first guy in the first house, multiply everybody in the second house. So let's do it first. Okay? So first arrow is x squared times x squared. Let's put the work here. Okay? X squared times x squared. Add up the head. So it's x to the power of 4. Second arrow, x squared times negative 6x. Number part is just negative 6. Nothing you can do. Copy it down. X part is x squared times x1. Add up the heads. It's x to the power of 3. Okay? It's minus 6x to the power of 3. Next arrow is x squared times 5. Number part is just 5. X part is x squared. It's positive 5x squared, so it's plus 5x squared. Okay? So we finish multiplying the first guy in the first house to everybody in the second house. And now we're going to deal with the second guy in the first house, which is positive 3x times everybody in the second house. Okay. So first arrow, 3x times x squared. Number part is just 3. X part is x1 times x2. Add up the power, which is x3. is positive 3, so it's plus 3x3. Next arrow is 3x times negative 6x. Number part, 3 times negative 6, negative 18. X part is x1 times x1, add up the power is x2. So it's negative 18x squared. Next arrow is 3x times 5. Number part, 3 times 5 is 15. X part is only x, copy it down. So it's positive 15x. Yeah? So we finished multiplying or distributing the second guy in the first house. And we have a last guy in the first house that we need to multiply with, which is negative 4, don't forget the sign, okay? Times everybody in the second house. Okay? So first, negative 4 times x squared. Number part is just a negative 4. X part is just x squared. So it's negative 4x squared. Next one, negative 4 times negative 6x. Number part, negative 4 times negative 6 is positive 24. X part is just x. It's negative 24x. Okay. Last arrow is negative 4 times positive 5. Two numbers, just multiply them, which is negative 20. So I finish distributing the last guy in the first house. Okay, so here we get rid of the parentheses and we have a big guy, a big polynomial in our first step result, right? And finally, look for like terms and combine them. From the beginning, x4. Do we have any other x to the power of 4 on the back? No. So this is a single guy, nothing you can do. So copy it down and it's gone. Okay. Next one is x to the power of 3, and you'll see another x to the power of 3. Combine them by add of the number in the front. So this is negative 6 plus 3, give you negative 3x to the power of 3. Okay. Next is x to the power of 2, and you'll see another one, and you'll see another one. Okay, so you have 3 like terms here. Add up the number in the front. So 5 plus negative 18 plus negative 4 give you what? Is negative 17x squared. And the next one is single x, and you have another single x. So add up the number in the front, which give you negative 9x. And finally, you have a single number. Nothing you can do, copy it down. So that's your result. Okay, so this is a lot of steps, but it's just a simple repeated multiplications. Okay, so be careful with it. Next one, the last one. Okay. This question is short, but it's actually more complicated. Okay. So let's look at it. So here you just see one parenthesis and you have a term outside of it. So first, and the term is multiplying the parenthesis. So get rid of multiplication. You just need to distribute the guy outside of the house, right? So let's do the distribution. So first arrow is 2xy squared times 3x squared y, right? Erase it. Yeah. That's 3x squared y. So here we have two variables, so we're gonna do them one by one. Okay. First, number times number, 2 times 3 give you 6. Next, x to the power of 1 times x to the power of 2, add up the power is x to the power of 3. Next, y to the power of 2 times y to the power of 1, add up the power, give you y to the power of 3. So first term is 6x3 y3. Okay. And the second multiplication is the outside guy again times the second guy in the house, which is negative y3. So number times number. Okay. So number part is 2 times negative imaginary 1. So if you have a negative sign, be careful, you need to do the multiplication. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And x part is here for the first term you have a x. For the second you don't have x, so nothing you can do with the x. So just copy it down. And for your y is y2 times y3, add up the power is y5. And that's it. So minus 2x y5. So you got rid of the parentheses. And you're going to check, can you combine like terms? So how are you going to decide if the two terms here with two variables are like terms? If they are like terms, the x and y part must be exactly the same. It means the powers must be the same. Here you see the x and y have different powers between these two terms. So they are not like terms. So you cannot combine them. So nothing else you can do. And that's it. Okay, so that's it about add, subtract, and multiply between the two polynomials. And next time we're gonna do division. Okay.